Hi and welcome to episode 89 of the This is Reportage podcast. My name is Alan Law. I'm the founder of This Reportage and This Reportage family, and I'm a photographer too. Honoured to have the fab Lisa Winner on the podcast with me today. Lisa is in our top 10 USA Photographers of the Year on This Reportage family for 2020, and she's won 9 awards from us in total, 6 individual and 3 story awards. Lisa shares so much in the episode today, including the story behind one of her Family Story Awards, her personal projects regarding autism and family caregiving, why she's not interested in creating photos like everyone else is, the importance of personality and getting that across, our Netflix synopsis game, vacation photography, and much more too. Before we get on to Lisa, as this is one of our first podcasts back from our summer break, I just wanted to remind you that we will be having our Christmas party in London this year on the 6th of December 2021, which I'm really excited about. It's the first time that we'll be able to have both This Reportage family and This Reportage members there, and I'd love to see as many of you as possible. It's exclusively for members, and you can bring a guest too, and it's totally free as part of your membership with a free drink if you arrive early too. We've got the exclusive use of an awesome balcony bar with fab views over Leicester Square too. We've got a DJ, and over 90 people from all over Europe have already confirmed to come, including quite a few of my previous podcast guests actually. Should be great. Really looking forward to it. Just remember to RSVP if you're coming along. Hope to see you there. Right, over to Lisa. Hey Lisa, how you doing?
Hey Alan, good.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on here. It's an honor to have you on here. It's really cool. Lovely to hear your voice.
Yeah, you too.
What time is it with you at the moment?
It's 10:40 a.m.
Okay, yeah. So you're just starting your day, as you said before we came on, and I'm kind of ending mine. So it's almost 7. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, how this world works and this technology?
Yeah,
it feels like you're just right next to me.
I know.
So because where in the world are you based? You're in America, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in California.
Nice. Okay. Are you kind of near San Francisco?
I am. I'm right outside the city, just across the Bay Bridge. It takes me about 15 minutes when there's no traffic, which is hardly ever. So yeah.
Oh, really? Is there always a lot of traffic? Is there?
Yeah, I live on a little island called Alameda. And it's right adjacent to Oakland. It's actually a little bit of a suburban anomaly in the mix of this megatropolis area. But
sounds nice.
Yeah, I'm 4 blocks from the beach. You can see San Francisco from our island. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's proper cool. I would love to go there. So I've been to America 6 times, but only to Vegas. I've never been anywhere else in America.
Well, Vegas is pretty great, so I don't I don't blame you. I love it.
It's fun, isn't it? Oh, you love it as well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love to gamble.
Oh, cool. What do you like to play? What do you play?
I play craps.
Oh, it's fun, isn't it? I had when we went about 4 years ago, we had it's like a free craps lessons, that they do at the casinos, and got really into it. It's really fun,
It's super fun. I'm really conservative. Most legitimate craps players would probably hate playing with me because I'm 3 numbers and then that's it. And then I just sit and wait.
Oh, okay.
But I love it more than any other game. I'll play blackjack sometimes, but I find it's not nearly as exciting.
No, craps has that great atmosphere, doesn't it, around the table and the whole. Yeah,
because it's a team sport.
Oh, that's cool. How often do you get to go to Vegas then?
Well, with COVID, it's been a minute. I've probably not been since 2019. I don't even remember the last time I was in Vegas. Honestly, it's been a little while.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I went weirdly for my friend's 40th. We went about 2 weeks before it all started closing down, really. Kind of beginning of March in 2020, wasn't it? Yeah. And so.
Oh, wow.
I know. So when we were going over on the plane, it was my parents have given me all these hand wipes because they're oh, you're hearing about this coronavirus thing. I was like, yeah, okay, Dad. But then on the way back, I was really grateful. And then the day after I landed, my local kind of air company actually went bust. So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, really weird. But yeah, I love going to Vegas.
I remember reading about that British airline that had to go declared bankruptcy like right in the
Yeah.
beginning. What was their name?
Well, at that, it was Flyby. Flyby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you hear about that? Yeah, that's so funny. So
Well,
I managed to get.
I think they had a flight to San Francisco. I remember. Yeah, I remember them. I remember that whole thing.
Funny, small world. Yeah, so I managed to get back from London to where I live in Cornwall, but then the day afterwards they went bust, so that was really lucky. But yeah, I normally go to Vegas annually for around the WPPI conference.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I can put it through the books then as a taxable, expensible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we need to get you to other parts of the United States. Vegas isn't the only redeeming quality of our country, though. It's a big one,
Sure.
in my opinion.
Oh, I'd love to go to San Francisco. It looks beautiful. Yeah, I would love to go there.
Yeah, it's quite. New York City would also be an easy flight for you. Also, another great city.
It must be really easy for you to get to Vegas. Sorry, still on the Vegas subject, but it must be so easy for you. It's just a small flight, isn't it, from you, really?
Like an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes.
That's so good. It's like 11-hour flight for me, 11 hours. So.
Now you're like, oh, I need to come to San Francisco and live so I can just get to Vegas all the time.
Oh, Lisa, well, that's cool. I hope we haven't put people off by the Vegas chat, but I love that, and it's cool to chat to someone else who loves it as well. So, Lisa, let's crack on. Yeah. So, I just love one of these quotes on your homepage. There's loads of quotes on your website, which I think are great, by the way. So I want to talk about. But one of them, you say, by the end of a session together, we'll be on a more than first name basis, and you may even learn what I was known for in high school. So,
oh shit!
What were you known for?
I'm not sharing that here on this call.
Oh, that's so intriguing, though. I really want to know. Maybe by the end of the call.
I totally forgot that was on there. Wow, you really do your research, don't you?
Well, I got to do a bit. Honestly, I think your website is so great. It has so much personality. You know, I really love it. And because obviously I look at loads of photographers' sites, and there are loads of good ones out there, but a lot of them can be just playing it safe, you know, a lot more kind of like doing what everyone else does. And what's so different about yours, there's so much personality and so much, you know, of you in it. And yeah, another line, which is I wanted to say, was that you say literally, I'm not interested in creating photos that look like everyone else's. I love that. And that's kind of brave as well, I think. So have you always been, you know, that kind of brave and putting your personality forward and not following the trends?
You know, I will say that that's really come about in my later adult years, kind of getting that confidence to really just be who I am. I certainly wasn't like that as a child, or even, you know, in my early 20s. It took me a while to like find my identity as a person.
Right. Okay.
But once I got to the point where, you know, I started on this photography journey, and, you know, I have I don't know if you can tell, but I have a pretty distinct personality, and I really want to make sure that people are aware of that up front. And so I tried my best to really convey that through my website, because if you don't know me and you're just searching for, you know, a photographer and you come across my page, you know, I want whoever my ideal client is to go, oh yeah, I want to work with this person for, you know, a variety of reasons. One being I really like her voice.
Totally. So
yeah.
Well, it's really successful, I have to say, because obviously we've never spoken, and you get a real sense of your personality just from the website. So you don't know, it's brilliant, I think. Really good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, my journey into photography is not like a normal journey of others. I don't know if we're ready to talk about that yet.
Oh, yes, tell us. Honestly, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, let's go there. Yeah, what was your journey?
So, you know, I know you know that I have an autistic son. And so in 2017, we as a family decided that we were going to go on this grand, like South Pacific adventure. And we booked a 6-week trip to Australia and Fiji.
Wow, cool.
And he was 6 at the time. He was very challenging, but we were determined as a family to not allow his disability and our like fear of what that looked like in public to deter us from doing what we love the most, which is traveling. We love to travel. So in preparation for that journey, I decided I was going to start an Instagram. to document his experience and our experience traveling, to raise awareness about autism. Because, you know, there's a lot of autistic families that have fear around traveling because of the judgments and fear of safety. And I'm doing a whole project on it. So I actually know quite a bit about the topic. But so as I started taking pictures for this, trip and, making posts online, I found that I really didn't care so much about like posting on social media. Like, I know people get really excited and, there's lifestyle bloggers and all this stuff. And it just wasn't for me. I didn't find that was my calling. But what I did find was my calling was taking real life documentary photos.
Cool.
I have this one image of my family in front of the Sydney Opera House, which I have a whole story around. It's like my first like documentary photo where when I took it, I knew it was like a moment for me. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. And, I was in a corporate job, I was doing data analysis and market research for, consumer products company. I worked from home. I had a good salary and I was absolutely miserable. I was miserable every day. I was so sick of being in this position where I just felt like I was chained to a desk and it was just about the money, and it didn't give me any passion or drive. And so once I started, decided, okay, I'm going to go all in with photography and started learning and taking classes and, really trying to hone my voice, my life changed. And then, it wasn't a year and a half later where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I left my job and started my own company.
Wow, that's cool. That didn't take long, only a year and a half as well then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it was like I was ready and I didn't quite understand. I thought, I'm going to leave my corporate job and start my own business and have so much more time for my family. And that was cute. But it was the right time. My company was going through a restructure, and I essentially spoke with my boss and said, I want you to lay me off.
Okay.
Because they were giving out like severance packages and I knew I could get unemployment. And I was like, please let me go.
Oh, that's cool. But were you scared though to do that? Were you scared or not?
Absolutely.
I'm
still terrified even today.
Was your partner supportive?
He was. He knew that I had, how unhappy I was, and we had been talking for a while, and I told her I wanted to do this. And then, it really just felt like now or never at that time, because of this restructure. And I knew that I was going to be put into a new role that once again, I wouldn't like. And it just felt like, okay, well, here's some money and I have savings, like, because I knew it was going to take a while to get a business off the ground. Now, granted, this was like December 2018. So I had pretty much just like a year and a few months before COVID hit. And then belly up. So
that's not the best timing, I guess, that way, but you couldn't have foreseen that. You couldn't have foreseen that though. But I love that. I think that's really inspiring though. And hopefully people listening, when you weren't happy doing that job, and so you just it's a big life decision to do something like that, and it's inspiring, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been financially it's been definitely, has its ups and downs. As being an entrepreneur is really hard, and it's so much harder than I ever thought it would be. It's so much more rewarding. I mean, I work hard now for myself, not for anybody else.
That's so true.
I push myself more than I ever did in any, job. And I know, and I see, like I said, ups and downs, but I do see the fruits of my labor, and I see it paying off. So I just have to keep going.
No, very cool. Very cool. And obviously you're doing great, and you're so good. And so you had no photographic background then, really? You just started to kind of learn really. And so how did you learn? Just from did you go to workshops and things, or websites, or books?
I did. I've invested thousands of dollars in education. Cool. I've always picked up a camera. And even before this, I was into pictures, but it wasn't anything that I, spent real time or money on. I I don't have a lot of patience for myself and life. And so I never really dedicated the time. I felt like, oh, well, this isn't anything that it could ever be real, right? Because I wasn't like a Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist within like the first 3 months of, picking up a point and shoot. But this time I decided to try a different approach and, and actually give it time and money. I mean, I took my first workshop with, I don't know if you're familiar with the American photographer Lauren Mitchell.
I don't know.
Fan of her work.
Okay. Is that documentary work as well? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I took my first class through Clickin' Moms. And it was with her, and my mind was blown at the work that other people were producing, at the work that she produced, and talking about, concepts and composition and all that. And then from there, I just kept going. I mentored with Kristen Lewis. Oh, cool. I've taken several classes with Chuck Anarino. So I've kind of made my way through the, documentary family photography world of educators. Cool. And now I've moved on to outside of that. But yeah, I still continue to invest in education because I think it's the number one way for me to grow.
Cool. And and I totally agree with you. It was a massive game changer for me as well. I remember going to my first workshop, in the wedding world, and just being, like you said, mind blown of like what other people can do and how they were doing it, and just opened up it's like a whole new world to me. It did. I think that was a massive, massive thing for me. So yeah, I couldn't agree more about education. It's
yeah. And that's when when I say I don't want my photos to look like everybody else's, is I truly believe that with my heart of hearts, because I feel like there's so many photographers that just get their camera and then they go stand in the woods and take people. And that's not to say that I haven't done that, because I certainly did that in the beginning, but I figured out really quickly that that's not what I wanted to do. And so how could I get beyond that?
Totally agree. It's so important to differentiate ourselves. It's such a competitive market. It's so important to differentiate. And you're doing that as well, and not just your images, but also everything on your website, all your copy, everything about you and the way you run your business. You have to do it. That's just true to ourselves, isn't it? And then it's different then. And then, and that's all good.
Yeah. And, it's still, work in progress and, constant learning, but I think you're right. If I can stay true to myself and true to my voice, like I will just find success that way, whether it's now or whether it's, in the future. I just have to do it that way.
I totally agree. I definitely think that's the way to do it. And I've tried to be like that as well. So totally agree. Lisa, one of your family story awards, which I think is brilliant. I think I think it's your son in it, often lying down or sitting in various locations. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's proper cool. It's really interesting. It's a powerful story. Can you tell us more about that? Was that partly when you were on that 6-week break, or was that at different times?
So I've been documenting that story for about a year. And that's the story which has developed into a little bit more like bigger beyond just those particular images. But it's really about documenting my son's experiences in nature and in the outdoors and what that looks like. And it's actually been picked up by a pretty large publication whose name I would prefer not to say because it hasn't been released yet. But within that publication, it's pretty exciting. I'm just kind of waiting for it. Like it's close. It's almost there. So within that story, we talk about him specifically, but then we also talk about autism acceptance as a whole, which is really, what the movement is transitioning to, from autism, away from autism awareness to autism acceptance. And what that looks like from a traveling and experiencing the outdoors perspective. And it's really about, when we talk about making accommodations for folks, with disabilities, it's the conversation is generally around accommodations for folks with physical disabilities. You're in a wheelchair, you're hearing impaired, you're vision impaired, that sort of thing. There's not there's very little conversation around those with cognitive disabilities.
Sure.
And so what happens is, if you meet an autistic child, you meet an autistic child. Every autistic child is different, and what triggers them and how they react to things is different. And so, thinking back to that trip I took with Donovan when he was 6, I mean, there were times where I literally feared for his life because he would get triggered. He would have a meltdown. We'd be in a public space where I thought was safe. And then, something would happen. And this is every family that has, a child on the autism spectrum, experiences these same feelings and emotions. And I feel like it's not talked about enough.
Right. Okay.
This project specifically is looking more at our national park system within the United States, and how this government agency, which is supposed to be Americans for All, like if you go to their site, they talk about reaching out and being there for the masses, but if you search for autism, or if you look for within their national parks, like monuments and park system, there's only one location that's made any sort of modifications to accommodate folks on the spectrum. Other than that, when you go to places like Yellowstone National Park or the Grand Canyon, I mean, it's just, vast, everything is just open. There's no place, we took Donovan when he was 3 to the Grand Canyon. We went as a family. And if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you'll know that it's literally just a canyon that's open. There's no rails or any sort of area where you can go where you can kind of feel cordoned off, but still take in the beauty of this natural landscape. And we had to strap him into a stroller because we were very concerned about him running off and falling off the cliff edge. And it was a disaster. It was probably one of our worst trips. He screamed and cried. Oh yeah, it was fucking awful. And so, I'm just one of many, many families that have this to contend with. And it's not talked about. So that's really what this story with Donovan is about, is just showing, and he's older now, so travel with him is much easier. It was when he was little, but that's to say that there aren't families with older children that have the same issues. So not to go off on a tangent, even though I just did.
Well, no, but I can only imagine. I just find it so interesting. I think it's awesome that you're doing a project that could really have a proper effect on things though as well. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, as I continue in my photography journey, I found that I'm really gravitating towards more social justice stories, more long-term storytelling that could potentially and will, not could, but will have an impact on, whether it's legislation or even just raising awareness.
Wow, that's proper.
What I want to do.
Wow, that's proper. That is just so grand. That's proper, changing the world type stuff. I often talk about, eating canapes at weddings, which just doesn't mean anything compared to the kind of stuff you're doing now. Honestly, hats off. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
It is.
There's, if I may,
yes, of
there's
course.
actually another project that I'd like to talk about as well that isn't on my website yet.
Okay.
It's a very personal story, so I'm going to try and get through it without crying. Okay. But my father is terminally ill. He has stage 4 cancer, and he resides on the East Coast of the United States. I am an only child of divorced parents, and so it is my sole responsibility to manage his end-of-life care. So I've been traveling back and forth for several months now, trying to tend to his needs as well as tend to my business as much as I can and my family back here in California. And through this, I decided that I needed something more. So as part of my idea for advocacy, I started a photography project. And I've partnered with another photographer, Stefana Farrell.
Oh yeah, cool.
Who's on this podcast a few months ago, and she and I are documenting my journey as a caregiver together.
Wow.
And
Gosh.
so she comes up, she lives in Florida. She comes up to Georgia, not every trip. She's been several times, and she documents my experience from a third person perspective. And then I document my experience from a first person perspective.
Wow.
And together, our project is called the Daughterhood Project.
Oh.
And we're in the process of sharing it out to media publications. We were going to wait until after my father passed before releasing the story, but there's a lot going on in Washington with our national politics right now around this large economic package that our government is tossing around about passing, not passing, and all of the components that are involved in it.
Right.
And one of the programs that's in this package is related to family caregivers and providing economic support, as well as expanding Medicaid, which is our national, I guess you would call it like national health care for the elderly and disabled.
Okay.
And so the story is extremely relevant to what's happening right now.
Sure.
In our political climate. And so we're in the process of figuring out what that wants to look like. We'd like to make this project bigger than just the story of my father and the story of me. We'd really like to use it for advocacy work and, policy change and things like that, but we're still in the beginning stages.
Wow, gosh. Oh, Lisa, what a project. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad as well. But man, what a project. And it sounds like it could have again a real effect on things. So is that helping you in a way, having this kind of this project and aim as well with dealing with the situation?
It is, I've battled feelings of guilt and using this time as a way to, further myself. But I've spoken with several photographers now who essentially are like, stop that. No, that's
totally.
Yeah, I'm using it as a form of art therapy. It gives me something else to focus on and something else to think about other than, essentially what lies ahead, which is, his passing, which I've come to terms with, but it's still, the traveling and the waiting. I mean, waiting, that's what we're doing right now. We're waiting. Waiting.
Oh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And yeah. I mean, again, though, what you're doing is just so good and so powerful. And again, just makes me think, what am I doing in my life? It does though. It's
we all serve different purposes. Like Alan, you do beautiful wedding photography, and that's such an important day for people.
But it's like one day, isn't it? It's nowhere near as important as the things you're doing. I do just often think like that, and then I don't go and do these kind of projects though. So I'm just hypocritical. So, but what you're doing is amazing, Lisa. Honestly, it really it is. It's amazing. It's proper.
Sorry to take a downturn in the podcast.
Oh no, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. And just back with your son being autistic actually as well. My wife, I find it very interesting, autism. I know virtually nothing about it, but my wife is actually a speech therapist, and she actually specializes in diagnosing autism. So that's what she does day in, day out. Yeah. And I just find what she's doing, that's changing people's lives. And then I come back to I take photos of people dancing on tables. It's changing people's lives. It's a funny thing, but we can't beat ourselves up all the time, can we? We can't. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Let's change tack slightly, Lisa. Let's change tack. Do you watch much Netflix? Are you a movie fan?
I am, yeah.
You are. That's good. So, for I don't know, for the last 20 episodes or so, I've done a little Netflix or game where if you're up for playing.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm just going to read out a synopsis. It's normally Netflix or they could be found on other streaming services, really. But and we'll see if you can get the title of the movie or the title of the season the series from the synopsis.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, cool. Let's go. Let's do it. Okay, so this first one, is a movie. Okay, so Marty McFly, a 17-year-old high school student, is accidentally sent 30 years into the past in time-traveling DeLorean invented by his close friend, the eccentric scientist Doc Brown.
Back to the Future.
Yes, boom. That's a good one. That's it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in years, actually.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. Although my kids like the series, so yeah.
The series. Oh, the whole series
The
of films.
three, the
Oh,
three. I
yes.
guess it's a
Yeah.
trilogy. Yeah,
That's true,
yeah.
isn't it? I remember seeing the third one at the cinema when I was a kid, though, and that's not very good, the third one, is it? I didn't watch.
No, it's not the one with the Wild West yet.
Yes. It is. I remember seeing the second one at cinema as well, and I was again quite young, and so just not really understanding it. Or, that's quite hard to understand, I think, the second one. But
So the funny thing about the second one is they go into the future and Donald Trump is president and everything is
yeah.
terrible.
That's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Real weird. Yeah.
Well, that's a good start. 1 out of 1 so far. That is good, Lisa. So, okay.
Great.
Second one is a movie as well. So, in Rehab, pop star Elton John looks back at his humble origins, timeless songs, and heady moments of inspiration and excess based on his true story.
Rocket Man.
Yes, boom, nice. Have you seen that?
It's great. It's a great movie.
Oh, God, I've not seen it actually. I should.
I love that Taron Egerton is the actor that plays him. He's so good. It's really, I highly recommend.
Oh, okay, cool. I will check it out. I will watch it. Cool. There's so many things, isn't there, to watch these days? But I will definitely put that on. Yeah. Okay. Well, 2 out of 2 so far. So we're going for the full 3 out of 3.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a series. Okay, and it's quite. It's an oldish series now, probably about 10 years or so. Anyway. Okay. So, amid relationship woes and personal attacks from a wicked cheerleading coach, a teacher fights to turn underdog Glee Club members into winners.
Oh, it's Glee.
Yes, it is. Boom.
I'm like, you said Glee Club. I thought maybe that. I'm like, no, it's Glee.
Well, that's great. Now, I don't know if I would have got that. I watched the first couple of seasons years ago, but I don't know if I would have got it from that. So, yeah, awesome. Well done. 3 out of 3. Proper winner, Lisa. Proper winner.
Yeah, I put a boom.
I know. Sorry, I had to do that joke. It's such a cool surname, though. That is such a cool surname.
My husband will be thrilled to hear you say that.
Cool. Awesome. Lisa, let's go back to your photography. And again, sorry, just another quote from your website there, which I really like. So I just wanted to say that I really like. Is you say, you were talking about your previous career and you say, I never took myself too seriously. So many people think that being professional equals being boring, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I just wanted to say that I 100% totally agree with that. And I love that you say it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, one of the things I used to do when I was working in my corporate job was I was responsible for like managing this like client relationship from the like marketing research side. But then I had, what do they call it? Counterparts across the country. And I would like talk to them about the business. But anyway, I would send these emails. And my emails were always like full of personality with like pictures and gifs and funny, like writing, like jokes and all the things. I would never, because it was the only way that I knew people would read them.
Okay.
Because everybody sends, boring work emails outlining responsibilities or whatever, and people either don't read them or but mine, I wanted to really make sure that they pulled people in from beginning to end.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was like something I became known for.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. No, I just love that as well, because you're so right that people do normally equate kind of professionalism. Professionalism doesn't have to be boring. And I remember when I started my photography site years ago, and when I first started, back in 2012, and I referred to myself as we, because it sounded more professional, and I didn't reply to emails like outside of like the 9 to 5 hours in case that didn't seem professional. But then I quickly dropped all that and just realized that's all silly. That's just silly. And when I'm at a wedding now, I have a silly run and stuff, and I make silly dad jokes, and you don't have to have this false air of professionalism. And so totally agree.
No, like I'm not trying to fool anybody. I really try to live authentically in my everyday life as well as my business life. Because it's just, yeah, that's just who I am. It feels very on brand for me.
Oh, that's cool. That's all good. Yeah. And talking about your brand, so as well as you and your photography, so as well as your family photography, you also do vacation photography, which I saw on your site. Can you tell us more about that side of your work? Because I think it's an area that, a lot of photographers would love to get into more. I guess it helps living in a place that's very, you must get loads of, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, that's really a side that has declined significantly since the start of the pandemic. Yeah. So I had actually started making good headway with some of the luxury hotels in downtown San Francisco. Oh. And I was connecting with the concierges and, I photographed like a retirement dinner for the Concierge Association. It was, just starting to meet people, network and build those relationships.
Great
and
ideas.
That was like 2019, the beginning of 2020. That retirement dinner was like January of 2020. And then, everything came to a halt in March. And so it really just like, I don't even know. I've tried reaching out. I don't even know if some of the concierges are still there. I imagine some folks lost their job. It's been tough. I have started talking with them again, and I was referred a pretty big job that I had to turn down because I was in Georgia with my dad. But
sure.
I'm hoping to get that business up and running again. I actually started a group with several other gals, several photographers who Sarah Paolucci and Antonina.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Casey Zalid out of Colorado, called the Vacation Storytellers. And we've talked on and on about kind of bringing a collective together and, as a group, like starting up, starting to reach out across the world, really.
Wow,
and trying to
that's exciting. That's a good idea.
Yeah. But it's just, everything takes time and I have a lot going on.
Well, I totally understand that you do. And still, it's still so hard for so many people to travel. As a UK person, we can't even fly into America at the moment until past November. I think it's middle of November or something that's happening. So
yeah, I thought that they had lifted that restriction, but I can never keep track.
Yeah, I think it's beginning of November. They announced it a few weeks ago, but it's not till November yet until we're able to. But I think that's really cool and proactive of you to go and contact the hotels and the concierges like that.
Yeah, the problem with vacation photography is it's something that people don't really think to search for, at least not yet. I did get, several clients through that. People coming to San Francisco and wanting, photos in a particular location. But it's not something that, people actively go on the internet and let me find a vacation photographer.
Right. Yeah.
So it takes a lot of building and awareness.
That is tricky when you have something like a product or a service, but that people don't know kind of exists as a thing, isn't it? Yeah. So that you can't, it's hard to SEO when no one's searching for it. So that's why I think.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that's why I just think it's so cool that you were being proactive and looking at other avenues, contacting directly with the hotels and things where the people that are vacationing are actually going to be. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, one area that we've talked about a lot is contacting tour operators and other destination type locations glamping and places like that offer a luxury experience, but is more than just staying at a hotel in San Francisco. It just takes time and
it does.
It just takes time.
It's cool though to have another. I know one of the things that the pandemic's taught me and I think a lot of people is the importance of diversification. So to have the vacation photography as well as the family photography and anything else that you do, I think that's just so much more important now.
Yeah, it's hard to have all your eggs in one basket, right? Last year, in the midst of all of this, when family photography pretty much died, I decided I was going to start doing school portraits because school wasn't in session. And so there was no school portraits to be had. And I actually, in the middle of a pandemic, launched a pretty successful, other arm of my business.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, actually
which
going
I
into
realized-
schools or doing it from people's homes, or
No,
going
well,
into school?
at that time, it was doing like, because we were all virtual here,
Mm.
there was no school happening. And so it was connecting with families within the community and then creating like pods. And I would do, like 30 kids in somebody's backyard.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Was that fun? Was it stressful, or was it fun, or both?
It was good. I would say I've switched to doing like actual, like in the school, like, so I just did it like a high school of 400 here in Oakland,
Well,
like
did you
last
photograph
month.
all 400 of them?
Yeah, I did. It was a lot.
What? How
It
many
was,
days to do that?
oh, like 3 full days.
Wow. What
It
what
was a
ages
lot.
are they?
High school. So, yeah, I guess it's different in the UK. So like ages 14 to 18.
Oh wow. Okay. And did they all, do they all want to have their photograph taken?
Well, school pictures, they don't really have a choice.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
school uses them for like, yearbook and things like that. But yeah, so like last year it was like little kids, like, elementary school age, like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and they're fun and they have a lot of high schoolers, they give zero fucks that you're there.
Yeah.
They just are like, okay, you're forcing me to take my picture. I'll sit here. And I mean, some I could get to, like, because I bring a lot of energy to the sessions, but yeah, it was challenging. I don't know that I'll do that again.
Oh, really?
I don't know that I
Okay.
really
That's a different
love
art, though.
that.
It's cool that you did that. I think, again, a lot of people would be like really scared to do something like that. And that's just so cool that you just did that. Again, it's inspiring. It's awesome. Because it is a different art. Did you use like kind of the flash setup and things, or?
I did natural light. I just made
Cool.
sure that we found a location within the building where there was like a window behind me, so I could use that
Nice.
window light to light each subject. And in, I would say 90% of the instances it worked out, and there was like 10% where like the light would shift and something, and it just wasn't a great scenario. But
How long did you have like with each kid? Like when you did that 400, like how long do you have with each child?
like 90 seconds, a couple of minutes with
Wow.
yeah.
Gosh.
And I would talk to them and like make silly. I essentially like treated them the same way I treat like the little kids, that I would like make silly faces and say funny things to try and evoke some sort of emotion out of them.
Yeah.
And it would work like 50% of the time. Other times they would look at me like I was nuts.
That's funny. I bet the editing or the culling and the editing, that couldn't be that fun though, when you're looking at the same situation kind of.
It's fucking awful. Like that's why I don't do it again, because it's really I hired somebody to help me with the culling and the gallery creation and all, and it's just so much work, and I don't think it's where I want to put my energy moving forward. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I can understand definitely.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Do you like kind of get the print sales and things then as well from that?
Yeah. So that's how it works. I then sell the photographs to the parents.
Cool. That must be quite a good money maker though, no?
It depends on the school, depends on the situation. Last year it was for me, especially in the middle of a pandemic when there was literally no other income coming in and I needed to make money. It worked out. It really saved my year, if I'm being honest. This year quite has not been as successful, but other things are picking up, so it's cool. Fine.
Again, that's the importance of the diversification. So yeah, that's very cool. Cool, Lisa. Let's change tack again. I like changing, just going between kind of things. It's all fun. So, Lisa, a random one, but can you remember the first record or CD or tape that you ever bought? Can you remember?
Oh my goodness!
Or at least one of the first ones.
Yeah. Well, I really loved. Are you familiar with the Grammy Award-winning artist Debbie Gibson?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
She was a pop artist of my youth. Okay. The equivalent of like a off-brand Madonna.
Okay, cool.
Off-brand Britney Spears. I think probably her album Electric Youth was probably my first purchase.
Okay, cool.
You're like, I have no idea who the fuck she is.
I know.
I'm not missing anything.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool. I've never asked that question on the podcast before, so it's fun. Very interesting.
Oh, there you go. Who are you helping, I would say?
Oh, no, I'm not. No idea. No, it's all good. Do you still? We don't buy CDs anymore, though, records, do we? I mean, I don't. I know the vinyl is making a comeback, isn't it? But I have not bought. I used to buy CDs all the time as a kid, but now it's all just stream everything.
Yeah, stream everything. It's funny because my best friend is a big avid record collector, and he has a whole system in his house with hundreds, I think, of records. And I'm like, really? All right, well, whatever.
Yeah, it's to their own. It's to their own.
You do too.
Did you never alphabeticize your like CD collection when you were younger or anything?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Who didn't do that?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Lisa, let's go to an advice question, because I'm sure people would love to hear this from you. And it's quite a big one, so do feel free to take any time to think if you want. But what would be your top tips to help someone become better at the documentary side of family photography? You know, what would be, specifically the documentary side, what would be your top tips?
So, one thing I learned early on from Kirsten Lewis was not to snap at moments. Like, don't be reactionary. To take time to think about your intention. What is it that you're wanting to photograph? Why? And how you want it to look on the back end. And I have to tell you that even though I say that out loud, that I still am learning, try to figure out how to do that.
So that's kind of like being more, just thinking more about what's going in front of you.
Being intentional with your work. Yeah. Thinking about, and when I first started documentary, and I think when everybody does, it's really just like, let me just take like candids, right? Candid moments. Let me just take pictures of candid moments and not really think about, the artistic side of things. And that's something that I definitely learned from Kirsten and from Chuck and Reno, both, who I've mentored with.
Okay.
Was really thinking about the art of photography beyond just the family piece of it. And I would say that, like, having moved on now to taking education outside of the DFP world, I learned so much from the DFP community, about really creating, thoughtful art and elevating the genre of family photography that I don't get now. It's like, I feel like if I didn't have this base of education that I cultivated for myself, I would not nearly be as successful as I have been in creating the photographs that I do. So, for anybody that's just starting out, I highly, highly, highly recommend education. I think it's important and you can learn so much, but it's also just about setting your intention before you even pick up the camera. What do I want to say today with my images?
That's cool.
Answer the question.
No, that's great advice. That's really good advice. And do you think, you were talking about you having the two mentors there. How did you find those mentors? Was it specifically people whose work you admired, or how did you do it?
So, Kirsten Lewis is, pretty well known within our documentary family genre. So, I told you I started, my education journey in Cricket Moms with Lauren Mitchell. And then I took another class with Lauren and Felicia Chang, who's another photographer out of Canada. And then I started hearing Kirsten's name, like, around through the ether. I'd see her mentioned here and there. I wasn't like, most people are like, oh, I found her on Creative Live. That's not, I actually have never watched one of her Creative Lives. I found her essentially through word of mouth. And then I looked her up and saw that she, offered pretty intensive educational opportunities. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So I just started working with her. And then, for Chuck, he's also somebody who's pretty active in our documentary family world. And I took his class. It's like his main offering. It's called Creating Deeper Documentary Imagery. And it was a game changer for me. And then I developed a, relationship with Chuck, and I mentored with him, and he's been an amazing mentor and friend.
That's cool. That's very cool. I've never done it. I'm really interested in doing it, actually. I think it could really, yeah, definitely help. And I know other people I've spoke to who've mentored have always said how great it is. So yeah, I guess it must be a great thing for people if they're listening to this now. Great thing to go out and do. I just wondered if it was people. I just wondered, that's why I asked you if it's people who are office specifically putting out like kind of mentorship packages, or if it's people that just whose work that you really love and you approach them and say, do you offer any kind of mentoring? I guess both way of doing it is
both. Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't connected to each photographer's work, I never would have signed up.
Sure.
With them. But I love both, both of them are extremely talented. And so that's really what caught my eye first. And then, yes, they also offer education. And so I would never have the balls to go, to reach out to a photographer who I didn't know and just say, hey, I really love your work. Can I mentor with you?
Oh, really? I thought you would have the balls, though. Honestly, just from you talking to you now, and I thought you would.
I mean, you would think. I mean, maybe I'm slowly starting to get past all that fear, and I constantly have this quote written on my walls: "Closed mouths don't get fed." So I'm always thinking about that.
I've not heard that quote before.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't? Closed mouths don't get fed.
No, I've not heard of it. No, that's cool. I
kind of live by that because what is the other one? You miss 100% of the opportunities that you don't take or try for, or something like that. So I'm slowly getting past the fear and just realizing what's the worst that can happen. I always think about before I send an email or make a phone call, what's the worst that can happen? They could not respond to me, or it's the fear that we build up in our own brains before any sort of interaction like that is always way worse than what the reality is going to produce. So
totally right. I do that whole thing. What's the worst that can happen as well? Or even just talking to you now, I just get nervous for each podcast thing. I'm like, well, what is the worst that could happen? We're just having a conversation now. Why are you nervous? It's so silly, but every time it's so weird.
Drop a couple of F-bombs.
But do you get nervous? Do you get nervous at all? Have any fear at all? When you're doing your family work, do you get nervous before doing a shoot?
Absolutely, every time. Even still, I have one tomorrow morning, and I'm I have to prepare. I'm a notorious procrastinator, and so I'm always trying to pull things together. But always. But generally speaking, within the first 10 minutes, I calm down and it's fine. But before I show up, that whole moment when I park the car, before I get out and go into wherever I'm going, absolutely.
Oh, well, that's good to hear that you do as well. And that's, I think, one thing I like about this podcast is that other photographers been able to hear how, virtually everybody does get nervous as well. And it's a normal thing, isn't it? I think that helps as well, just to hear other people going through similar things.
Yeah. I don't know that feeling ever goes away.
Yeah, I mean, it never has for me with my, my wedding work never has. And I've been shooting since 2012. So yeah, it got better. I mean, in the first kind of, 6 months, 8 months, I wouldn't sleep well before, a shoot. I do sleep now. Yeah, I do sleep, but I always need a nervous wee on the way to a wedding, always in the morning.
Nervous wee. Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because I do that too. Yeah. Weird. Yes.
Oh, it's a real thing, isn't it? It's a real thing.
I'm totally using that now, Alan. I'm taking that.
You put it on your website.
Absolutely. Don't blame my nervous wee. That's great.
Oh, that's funny. Lisa, okay, let's go to a bit kind of a bigger question. And I kind of word this question really awkwardly, so I might have to read it to you twice. But anyway, let's see. When you've reached old age and you're looking back at your life, what would you like to think about the life you've led? I know it's awkwardly worded, isn't it?
No, it's so funny that you say that. It's like the universe is listening. I have been thinking about that exact question a lot lately because everything going on with my father and dealing with essentially facing mortality for a parent and what that looks like and the meaning of life and all of those big questions that, we are always out there, but we never really talk about. And so, for me, the legacy I would like to leave behind is that I made a difference with my work, through my actions. I really want to bring about change. And so, while it's slow, like I told you at the beginning of this podcast, I'm very impatient. I feel like it will come. I feel like it's coming. I feel like that's the direction that I'm going. And so I just need literally one foot in front of the other, just keep going. But I would like to I would like to leave behind the legacy of my work, which will be bigger than me. I want it to do more than just, take pictures.
That's so cool. And you will do. And what you're doing, you will do. That's so cool.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the answer you were expecting. You're like,
no, wow. I never expect anything really. But that's proper. Yeah, I mean that's proper legacy, isn't it? That's a proper way. What a great way to have led a life. I think to have that, to leave that behind.
Once we die, the only thing we have left is, either the people we've left behind or, things that we've done, how we've contributed to society and beyond. And so I hope that when that time comes that people will say, yeah, she did good.
That's proper cool. That's a great epitaph as well, actually. Or, on the gravestone, yeah, she did good. It's true, though. I think that would be very cool. I'd like that. I'd like to be able to say that, so.
Well, I hope it doesn't say, she was a royal bitch.
Yeah. That's true. That wouldn't be the best. No.
No.
Oh, that's awesome, Lisa, though. That's, proper cool. And I've just looked down. We've been speaking for almost an hour. It's gone so quickly. I know I'd say this all the time, but it does fly, doesn't it? It's flown. So we've got time for just one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go for another tips one, because again, I'm sure people would love to hear from you. Do you have any tips or bits of advice for getting families to be relaxed in your presence at all? So they know they can just be themselves. And you may not, or it may just be natural with you and your personality. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really. So I go in hard with the kids. I really try and make them my friend from the beginning. I do think part of it is with my personality. I am very, jovial and open and honest with the families. I talk to them ahead of time. I think that's so important with any shoot, is to spend a little time, getting to know them. I do a Zoom call.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Let them set up the scene. This is how it's going to go. We're just going to hang out. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't have to clean your house or whatever it is that we're doing. Just be you. It's totally fine. And, inevitably when I first get there, it takes a little bit for everybody to calm down. But, I talk to them like I would talk to you, or maybe not so many curse words, but, other, I'm pretty casual in my approach. And so I think, if you go in casual, that will calm them down. I think if you go in all flustered and, again, try and be too corporate or too stiff, that just puts people off. So
that makes sense. Totally.
If I'm relaxed, then they're relaxed too.
Yeah, great. I think that's honestly, that's great advice. That really is. That's great. When you said about you talking to them beforehand and you said you don't need to clean. Do you find though, when you get to people's homes that they must be totally spotless, even though you've said that?
Oh yeah. But you know what? Sometimes not. And I'm always yes.
Yeah, proper. This is real. Oh, that's cool.
This is real. Those are my favorite. But yeah, generally speaking, people, it's only natural. If you have company over, you're like, shit, I got to clean the bathroom.
Yes.
But generally speaking, most people, they will do a little bit of tidying up. It's fine.
Yeah, can't blame them. No, can't blame
Yeah, you can't blame them. That's right.
Have you had someone come and photograph your family?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, do you? Yeah. Okay.
Do you clean? It's funny because I was just. Well, I'm speaking of vacation photography. I'm really big into hiring a photographer when I travel with the family.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So my husband and I went to Rome a couple of years ago, and we hired Sarah Paolucci.
Oh, is that how you met her? Had you had contact with her before? Oh, that's cool.
She's
Awesome.
so lovely.
Yeah.
And her work is just brilliant. And then when we were in Yellowstone last summer, I hired Gretchen Yost for the day.
I spoke to her on the podcast as well. That's funny.
Yeah, all your all your members. Yeah, they're all great photographers. But we haven't done one for this year yet, and so I need to think about if there's an opportunity, because I like to try and do it once a year. I just I can't practice I can't not practice what I preach, right? Like I tell families, you got record this time, like it's so important, and then build memories and blah 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 blah, and then not fucking do it for myself. Because if I just take I take all the pictures and then I'm not in any of the pictures.
Yeah, sure.
So, at least once a year, I try and hire a photographer, documentary photographer.
That's proper cool. Are they with you for quite a few hours then on a day on vacation? Yeah.
Yeah, between 6 and 8 hours, generally speaking. And we'll do like when Gretchen came, we were in Yellowstone and we were, by Old Faithful, the big geyser, and we went to different parts of the park with her. And then in Rome with Sarah, we actually did a full walking tour that she had arranged with one of her friends, tour guide. And so she just hung out with us for the day. It was great. It was really great.
Very cool. And you must have some amazing images and memories from those trips now.
I do.
And you're in them.
And I'm in them. I know. It's not just pictures of my kids. Yeah. Sometimes maybe with my husband thrown in there.
Oh, I should do that. I really should do that. So I've never had that done. I've never had anyone actually come in, even in my home, and take.
Really?
Yeah. So I know I need to do it. Don't I?
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, there's a local photographer here with me who we like to switch sessions sometimes, and she's come into my home and photographed before.
Oh, that's a nice idea as well. Yeah, kind of swap shoots with each other.
Yeah, swap shoots. Yeah.
And did you clean your house before?
Probably.
Oh, Lisa. Sorry, it's been so fun to talk to you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for asking me on the show.
Oh, thank you for coming on. It's been so easy to talk to you. And you can't see me, but honestly, I've just been smiling the whole way through. You're just very lovely to talk to. And you're doing proper, meaningful things with your photography as well. Proper, meaningful things. So hats off to you. It's proper. It just makes me reevaluate things. And it just does. But honestly, amazing. Honestly, proper cool. And anyone listening now, I've got to stop saying if you're listening, because obviously people are listening if they're hearing me say if you're listening. But yeah, do head to thisreportagefamily.com or thisreportage.com, and I'll include a link through to Lisa's site and that family story award we spoke about earlier as well. And I hope one day I get to meet you. I've got to come to somewhere else other than Vegas in America.
Yeah. So. Well, the next time you go to Vegas, you let me know and I will be there.
Yes, let's do it. That'd be cool. That'd be very
that'd
cool.
Be awesome. Okay, thank you, Alan.
No worries. You stay well. And if you're ever down in Cornwall in England, let me know as well.
I will for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the 89th episode of the This Is Reportage podcast. Really enjoyed chatting to Lisa there. Hope you enjoyed listening. Head to thisreportagefamily.com or thisreportage.com for a link to her website, her family caregiving project, and to see the specific family story award you talked about too. We have lots more episodes of the podcast available where we speak to family and wedding photographers from all over the world. Delve into our back catalogue to hear from the likes of Barbara Puchter, Sarah Paolucci, Stefana Ferrell, Patrick Mattia, Emma Collins, Ralu Chase, Dan Morris, Frank Boutonnet, Sitlali Rico, Dave Scholes, Menina Cognes Menina, and many more too. If you're not a member of This Reportage or This Reportage family, check out all the benefits of joining us, including an unlimited number of images on your profile, 60 individual award and 18 story award entries per year, invites to our physical meetups and parties, including our upcoming Christmas party in December 2021, exclusive discounts, hours of educational videos featuring tips and advice from some of the world's best photographers, and much more too. Submissions are open now for our final award collections of 2021. The deadline is the same for both our wedding site and our family site. Submit by 23:59 GMT on the 23rd of November 2021. No poses, nothing staged. This is Reportage. And this is bye for now.